All right, week 6. So week 6 means, I know it's easy to calculate, right? 7, 8, 9. Counting this week, 4 weeks, right? 6, 7, 8, 9. So this class is quickly moving past the halfway point, past the midterm, into, I wouldn't say it's final stretch, but it's definitely getting there. So in week 6, we kind of take a moment to say the following, is that you've learned at this point, depending on your level of which you came in with, right? This is just the reality of anything in life. People come in with different experiences. This course is targeted to students who are new to these topics, new to the IT, but there's clearly folks in here who have some experience. But for all of you, I will make the following statement. At this point, you should be feeling like you have a better understanding of the broad topics around IT. Now, I wish I could tell you this is absolutely the only thing you need to do to prepare for the exam. And it's just not. It's like with anything in life, what we're doing here is we're introducing you to the topics. I'm actually going to, by next week, have provided you some feedback from a fellow instructor who's teaching this right now, Matt Hodge. And he actually took the exam. And he was really saying that, you not only need to understand what the context, what that term means, but also a bit more of a drill down into the actual implementation or the skills required in there. So in a class like this, the expectation would be that you take the things that you're learning and you then learn more about that thing and then acquire more skill. As an example, when we talk about operating systems, right, having the familiarity to maybe reload a Windows operating system would be good. Load a virtual operating system would be good. Load a Linux operating system would be great. And by the way, you can use the virtual installation to load Linux, or you can load Linux on its natively on a system. So, and I could go on and on, but really you just want to take that beginning knowledge and take it to the next level. Right? Again, the next level for you will vary compared to another student. So like in networking that we did last week, you want to understand how to set up a network, even if it's your home network, right? My home network is the one I'm most familiar with. It's the one that I've secured. These are important topics to know how to secure your Wi-Fi. Know how to secure Wi-Fi, how to connect both wired and wireless connections, and benefit of using a wired versus a wireless, right? So I'm just saying that, again, we could go back and look at the software, right? So in the software realm, definitely being able to not only install any kind of basic software, be able to relatively quickly learn how to use that software. Now that's one of the things as we were doing the presentations tripped up a couple of you. But you got through it, and that's the idea, is that you want to be able to fairly quickly, if you don't know something, figure out how to do that thing. And I know these are a bit nebulous, kind of like, it's like, give me specifics. The thing I would just tell you is take what you're learning and own it in the sense that you take the learning to the next level. Because school, as wonderful as I think it is, right, is really often just introducing you to concepts. Now, obviously, the further you go in school, you would hope that you gain more and more drilled down skill. And of course, in cybersecurity, you will. But in a class like this, where you're getting a lot of different topics, you just want to be able to say, okay, how can I do that? And oftentimes it's like you struggle with, well, how could I actually do that? That's why virtual environments, I'd come back to that with the operating systems, are a good way to go. Because you can get a lot of experience, like on my Mac that I'm on right now, right? I have Windows 11 loaded in there. think I have a Linux distro in there, right? Just because I can virtualize, and I'm using VirtualBox right now. Although I noticed in Windows 11 it didn't work great. Besides the topic. So this week, right, and I'll come back to the discussion because it's basically, well, let me just do it now. So basically, now that you've done the pull the thread, right, for this one, the same idea. Give a link to your updated research and give a link to your new presentation, because that's the thing is I want you, and I said this last week, is to actually give me a new file. And the reason is so I can go back and look at the old one in case I needed to. Make sure they're, friendly links. By now, hopefully you know what that means. But I have changed the discussion a little bit here, right? I think this would be similar, right? Did you change your approach? I guess not, right? Did you change your approach to recording as compared to the previous one in week 2? Because I know that first one could have created a certain amount of, like, I've never done this before. What did this look like, right? So talk about that. And then also, and I want you to, this is really important in our world now, is how would you improve your prompting skills? Like, kind of look back and say, okay, I see the prompts I used, right? How, knowing what I know now, or maybe going out and finding, I've given you, I gave you a link to a video showing how to do some, what we call kind of pre-prompting, setting up the context of what you're prompting for, right? But find out, do so, again, kind of extend the research. We've introduced you to the idea of prompting. You've gotten content back. You've created reports out of that. Now, how could you take that skill to the next level? So how would you do that? Right? And again, don't write, don't post, copy and paste the questions, write in narrative style here, right? Now, I do lean a little heavier, and I should have said this last time, on the replies for grading here, because you've already done the work of the presentation. Really, the benefit to something like this comes from you actually giving each other feedback. Listening to at least 2 of your fellow classmates, right? At least 2 of them, to give them feedback on their presentation, because that's really handy to have, and it's also what can be kind of nerve-wracking to get. But it's important because you want to you want to revise and perfect your presentation. Now, we're going to do one more round of this. We'll end up sharing it on the last discussion. It'll look a little differently, but we'll get to that soon. Just a preview a little bit. Okay, so this week is a little shorter, not as many videos, but really important topics. Databases, and they're everywhere, right? I mean, Canvas is a database. And if you were to really start to see all the information that is stored for Canvas, because it's like all the course content, all of your grades, all of your submissions, I mean, that's just to barely touch on all the things that Canvas saves, and it's saved in a structured form that's a database form. And trust me when I tell you, depending on, again, your experience when you've come in here, this is not the last time you're going to see databases. They're going to be everywhere. And the ability to query, to write SQL statements, right? And they'll talk about querying a database here. We have a whole class just on understanding and how to write SQL statements. SQL, basically a standard query, standard query language, SQL, right? Sequential database language, I believe, SQL. There's different, I've heard it mentioned different ways, but basically it's a language you use for querying a database. And just like any programming kind of language, right, you learn syntax. So this would be, for me, in my thinking of security professionals, a really handy thing to have, because you may not be designing. I can't see that, although who knows, there may be an option there. I would see more you analyzing databases that exist. Okay? Okay, so have fun with this week. Next week is a fun one as well. I'm going to try to actually get ahead even a little more. That's going to be my goal. because by the end of 7, I try to go ahead and release the rest of the class if time permits. And I know there's been a couple of you that have kept up and you're doing the content as soon as I release it, and that's wonderful. All right. I think that's it. All right. Have a great one. Bye.